The main thing is that the Russian and US presidents generally share similar views that the temporary ceasefire proposed by Ukraine and Europe under the pretext of preparing for a referendum or other excuses will only prolong the conflict and could lead to a resumption of hostilities.
No, not a ceasefire. He feels that, look, they're fighting and to stop, and then if they have to start again, which is a possibility, he doesn't want to be in that position. I understand that position. The president feels strongly about that or something. But I think we're finding ways that we can get around that. But I understand President Putin from that standpoint.
U.S. President Donald Trump on December 28 held a high-stakes phone call with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin ahead of his planned peace talks with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky. Russia said the conversation between Trump and Putin lasted for more than an hour, while Trump told reporters it stretched past the 2-hour mark, underscoring the depth of their discussion. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov later briefed the media, outlining key points from the call between the two leaders, including their positions on a possible ceasefire and security guarantees.
A telephone conversation between Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump has just ended. The conversation was initiated by the US President, who wanted to discuss the current situation surrounding the Ukraine conflict and explore possibilities for its resolution. He requested the call ahead of his meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky later today in Mar-a-Lago, Florida. At the beginning of the hour and 15-minute discussion, the two leaders exchanged warm greetings on the occasion of the Christmas and New Year holidays and extended their best wishes to the peoples of both countries. The entire conversation that followed was described as friendly, cordial, and businesslike, reflecting a mutual interest in moving toward a peaceful, long-term resolution of the Ukraine conflict. Donald Trump listened attentively to Russia's assessment of the prospects for reaching an agreement. President Putin presented detailed arguments emphasizing the importance of maintaining focus on the basic Russian-American understandings reached during the Anchorage summit and through various intergovernmental contacts. Both presidents reportedly agreed that the temporary ceasefire proposed by Ukraine and European mediators, ostensibly to prepare for a referendum, would only prolong the conflict and risk a renewed escalation. To end hostilities decisively, it was suggested that Kyiv must make a bold and responsible political decision aligned with ongoing Russian-American diplomatic efforts. Given the situation on the front lines, the Russian side expressed that Ukraine should adopt this decision regarding Donbas without delay. Trump emphasized that the war must end as soon as possible, highlighting the promising opportunities for economic cooperation among the United States, Russia, and Ukraine that could follow peace. Acknowledging the complexity of the Ukrainian crisis, Trump said he was once again convinced of Russia's commitment to a political and diplomatic settlement. He noted that this understanding would guide his upcoming discussions with President Zelensky. During the call, both leaders agreed to continue working towards stabilizing the situation through two newly established working groups, one focused on security matters and the other on economic cooperation. The parameters for launching these groups will be finalized soon, likely by early January. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump concluded their call with an agreement to speak again following the U.S. president's meeting with the Ukrainian delegation in Mar-a-Lago later this evening.
Following the call, Trump welcomed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida for in-person talks focused on ending the war. After the meeting, Trump told aide that negotiations to end the conflict were 95% complete, signaling what he described as major progress toward a potential deal. Trump also remarked that he understood Russian President Putin's opposition to an immediate ceasefire with Ukraine, hinting at lingering obstacles to any final agreement. He added that a follow-up team, led by his son-in-law Jared Kushner and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, would travel to meet Russian officials to work out remaining details of the proposed agreement.
As you know, I had an excellent phone call with President Putin that lasted for over 2 hours. We discussed a lot of points. And I do think we're getting a lot closer, maybe very close. The president and I just spoke to the European leaders. They were President Emmanuel Macron of France, President Alexander Stubb of the Republic of Finland, President Karol Nawrocki of the Republic of Poland, Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store of the Kingdom of Norway, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni of the Italian Republic, Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom of Britain and Northern Ireland, Chancellor Friedrich Merz, the Federal Republic of Germany, Secretary General Mark Rutte, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, President Ursula von der Leyen of the European Commission. We spoke to all of those great leaders. They're all great leaders. And we had a great talk with them after we were completed. We thought it was appropriate to speak with them. And our meeting was excellent. We covered, somebody would say 95%. I don't know what percent, but we have made a lot of progress on ending that war, which is really certainly the most deadly war since World War II, probably the biggest war since World War II. And I want to thank Steve Witkoff, who's here, and I'd like to thank Jared, who's here someplace. Thank you, Jared. And thank you, Steve. What a great job you've done. Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and Marco Rubio is here. Thank you, Marco. And Pete Hegseth is here. Those two people are doing an unbelievable job. And the four people on this one are doing, I don't think anybody could do it. And we'll see if it gets done, but it's very close, certainly. Nobody would even have a chance of getting it to where it is right now. Nobody would have thought that was possible. So I just want to say we've done very well. We've had discussions on just about every subject, and that includes with President Putin before. And we went into great detail, and we likewise went into great detail today. Where are you from?
From Ukraine.
Good, I had a feeling. Good.
How about Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant? Have you discussed this question?
On what?
Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant.
Yeah, we discussed that at length today. As you know, it's in pretty good shape. It can start up immediately, almost immediately. And it's one of the things I discussed with President Putin. And they were talking about the nuclear plant. That's probably the biggest in the world, just about the biggest anywhere in the world. Can you believe that? And President Putin's actually working with Ukraine on getting it open. He's been very good in that sense. He wants to see that open. And he hasn't hit it with missiles, hasn't hit it with anything. It's a big danger to do that for everybody. But they're working together to try and get it. It can open very quickly. It's in pretty good shape, and the people there have been there for years. The people there running it, they have 5,000 people in that plant. Can you believe it? I learned that today. 5,000 people. It's the biggest plant of its kind in the world, and they're working together to get it open. They could maybe get it open quickly. That's a big step when he's not bombing that plant. It's a big step.
In the readout from Moscow, they talked about the creation of some working groups.
Yes.
That would be set. Can you tell us about what those working groups would entail? And also, if you wouldn't mind, what is the message that you will give to Putin when you speak to him after your meeting?
So the working group is going to be composed of Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, General Raisin Kane, Marco Rubio, and a few other people that we're going to be putting onto it. I think Pete Hegseth should be in that working group. He knows the territory very well. He's been fantastic at what he's doing. And they may add one or two people. And likewise, Ukraine's going to have some very good people that were at lunch today that enjoyed the lunch today a lot, more than they thought, right? But do you want to say who may be on your working group?
Yeah, we now, as I said, that we work with Steve and Jared. We worked our Rustem Umerov and also Deputy Minister Gislitz and also General Ignatov, and they will continue work in this group. And of course, if we will go further, and I hope that really we will have decisions in January, as I said, about all these documents, 6 documents, and of course we will continue work on this, so they know what to do. Yes.
And that working group, by the way, importantly, will also then be working with Russia, okay? Because to work with ourselves doesn't really solve much of a problem. So they'll be working with Russia.
Discuss any time, location, meeting place?
Yeah, we're discussing a lot of things. No, I was on the phone with them for almost, I guess, 2.5 hours, they're just telling me now. That's a long time. we discussed a lot of things. We didn't talk about the weather. We weren't talking about what a beautiful day it is in Palm Beach, Florida.